Good morning to one and all. I am Dr. J. SUBRAMANIYAN, Associate Professor and Coordinator, Political Science and Public Administration Wing, Directorate of Distance Education, ANNAMALAI University, ANNAMALAI Nagar. This video I am going to talk about Indian Constitution and its detail. We know that political science much relied upon the Constitution and the state system. Nowadays, without Constitution, you cannot imagine the state, because state should have compulsorily the written Constitution. Document is required to know about or to function the state. They need a certain provision, rules and regulations, or bundles of rules and regulations that will be available in the name of Constitution. So no state can exist, or to run, we cannot say that exists, but we cannot run the state system without the Constitution. In a world level, British is not having a written Constitution. That is a different story or legacy. Based on their custom and convention, they are not having a written Constitution. We cannot bulldoze that no state can run without the Constitution, but it is a mandatory. Nowadays, through rules and regulation provisions, we should have a Constitution. In this manner, in our political science syllabus, we are having a Indian Constitution paper. It is one of the important one. We may learn about the importance of the Indian Constitution, because how far it will, because any other, whoever may be, any other students or whoever may be a part and parcel of the state system, they have to aware of about their own country and their constitutional system. As far as our subject is concerned, today we are going to talk about the Indian Constitution. As a student of political science, you should aware of about how our Constitution is functioning, what are the legacies are we are imbibed from the British government, and what we are all following after independence. We become as a republic state, how we are all exercising our provisions and rules and regulation in our country. So that's why it is an important one. So political science, M.A. political science, UG also they are having, in BA political science also they are having a Indian Constitution paper, but holistically it will cover about maximum that entire phenomena about the Indian Constitution. Whatever I am teaching here as a M.A. political science Indian Constitution, same is applicable to the UG, but little bit difference or small demarcations are there in the syllabus, almost same. We cannot say that salient feature is different for UG or PG is different salient features. So in this manner, this semester, second semester M.A. political science students will come across the Indian Constitution paper. Let me explain in detailed manner. So the objectives of this paper, that Indian Constitution will focus about the British occupation of India. So students come to know about, they learn about the British occupation of India, how they have came over here in East India Company. 1700 they came as a traders. Later they established that they occupied the India. The Queen Proclamation Act, first war of Indian independence, we lost our power. So the Britishers occupied. From British Queen onwards, 1858 onwards, they ruled the India until the 1947. So we learn about the British occupation of India, and also we can come to know about functioning of British Empire, how they have functioned, because you do know about when Warren Hastings became as a first Governor General of India. Thereafter, regulating act, you don't know about, he was a first Governor. Thereafter, every 20 years, they want to regulate the India. Whenever there was a law and order situation is deteriorated, that time they have regulated. So they functioned, how the British Empire have functioned in India, we can know about through various provisions and rules and regulations. Not only that, we can learn about action and reactions in Indian territory by the British government. And also we can know about, by through this paper we will come to know about the comprehensive understanding about different acts. Even what we are having Indian Constitution nowadays, that was a legacy created by British government, especially 1900 Act and 1919 Act and 1935 Act. These are all the act played a significant role for the establishment of Indian Constitution. So in this manner, that learning objective students will learn about various aspects of British occupation and the British legacy, and within the territory what they have contributed. We will come to know about in a detailed manner. Then outcome of the course is that end of the course, student will be able to grasp more knowledge about the different phases of law of the land. Constitution of India, where they can gather more exemplary knowledge about different phases, how the constitution is functioning, what is the central government power and functions are by the president or nominal executive, real executive, what they are having. Everything was clearly mentioned in Indian constitution. That's why different phases, central government power, state government power, or list provisions, or whatever may be, different aspects of the law could be clearly understood by the students. Not only that, other outcome is to identify the important provisions, the British Raj Empire, how they have created a certain provisions in the British period they can know about. Not only that, student can evaluate the British imperialistic policies. We even after independence also we are having a constitution, but except I think maybe many experts used to say that, it is not my opinion, subject to correction. They used to say that even Right to Information Act after the independence we have created, remaining all other act, even Criminal Procedure Code, starting from that National Law Commission, they have given a more important. So likewise, Right to Information Act as a free independent state has created a more important policy decision by the government. Why I am telling that one means almost the British legacy we are using as our constitutional features, and we can gather more knowledge about British imperialistic policies. So these are the major objectives and outcome of the Indian Constitution. Now we will look about the syllabus. Indian Constitution consists of 5 units. First unit deals about introduction. Introduction consists of evolution of Indian Constitution, Constitutional Assembly, philosophy and socio-economic dimensions of Constitution, the preamble of Indian Constitution. Not only that, finally liberty, justice, equality and fraternity. So those things we could gather through first unit, introduction. Second unit focuses about salient features of the Indian Constitution. Today we are going to discuss more about the salient features of the Indian Constitution. While you discuss about the salient features of Indian Constitution, you can come to know about almost major aspects of the law could be clearly understood, or provisions are clearly we can know about when you study about, or when we discuss about the salient features. Rest of the ideas will be focused or concentrated very easily. So salient features of Indian Constitution, we will look about the fundamental rights, constitutional provisions and political dynamics, judicial interpretation, socio-political relations, fundamental duties, directive principles of state policy, Article 370. So fundamental rights, basic rights of the human beings. Right to equality is one of the basic rights of the human being. So that's why that is one of the basic rights. So Constitution has clearly indicated, part 3rd, Article 12 to 35 clearly indicating about the fundamental rights. Likewise, part 4th, directive principles of state policy. All these process come under the second unit. And third unit, union government, central government, president, prime minister, council of minister, parliament, supreme court and judicial review. Central government, organization of government at central level. President is a nominal executive, prime minister is a real executive, council of minister, parliament, upper house, lower house. Upper house is the council of state, lower house is a house of people or Lok Sabha. Supreme court, and central level we are having a supreme court, state level high court, judicial review. So these are all comes under the union government. And the fourth unit, the state government and local government. We are having a distribution of power in a federal structure. So Constitution clearly given about what are the powers and functions of the state government and local government. That was focused in the fourth unit. Governor, we are going to look about governor, chief minister, council of minister, legislative assembly, state legislature. Few other states having a legislative assembly, and other states, few other states are having a legislative council, because India we are having a bicameral legislature. Few other states is having a unicameral, except a few states, majority of states are having a legislative assembly. So that's why Constitution paper is given a more importance to the legislative assembly. And fifth unit, the constitutional authorities. Niti Aayog, the fifth unit consists of constitutional authorities. Some important statutory and non-statutory authorities we are going to look about. Niti Aayog, Union Public Service Commission, Election Commission, Interstate Relation, Controller and Auditor General of India. So they are all come under the 5th unit. So holistically we can look about starting from 1st unit to the 5th unit. We will cover up about entire phenomena about the powers and functions of the Indian state system. It is clearly indicated in the Indian Constitution paper. We may know about evolution of Indian Constitution, then salient features of Indian Constitution, then central government and their activities, executive, legislature, judicial activities, and 4th unit state level. Executive, legislature, judicial activities, and 5th unit constitution. So these are all the idea we are going to look about. Now we will move on to the Indian Constitution in a detailed manner. Before going to start about Indian Constitution, many of you may ask a question, sir, what is the meaning of Constitution? Why do we have a Constitution? You may ask a question. Because if you look about the Constitution means a set of written rules. A Constitution is the word is derived from the Latin word constitute. That means a bundles of rules and regulations, a bundles of rods. So that's why the Constitution means a set of written rules. They are accepted by all the people living together in a country, any state or nation. If the people have accepted as a written rules and regulation, or majorities are decided to become as a rule, that will be followed in a written manner. A rules and regulation is called as a Constitution. Very simple. So that's why the basic laws or rules of a country or organization is called as a Constitution. Constitution means it is a basic fundamental laws of the country. So in this manner, the Constitution is a political frame based on principles or law of a country or formulated. So without Constitution, that's why you might know about no state will function without the constitutional procedure or constitutional law. So that's why the rule of law, whenever the rule of law becomes essential to the state, law becomes as a rule, not as an individual, or it becomes authoritative or oligarchic way of system. So that's why the Constitution is a political framework on which the principles and laws of the countries are formulated. So Constitution is a law determining the fundamental and political principles of a government. We are having a government, we are having a parliamentary form of government, democratic form of government. So how do we function the government and the parliament system? We need a certain rules and regulation, provision should follow through. If it is unwritten manner, we cannot understand what is a government, what is the basic fundamental principles about the politics, what is the central government power, what is the state government power, what is the prime minister power, what is the president power, what is the governor power, what is the local government power, what is the chief election commissioner power, what is the UPSC power, we cannot know about. So that's why a Constitution is a law determining the fundamental political principles of a government. Principles means a fundamental law of the government. So fundamental law should be written down as a document, unless otherwise it is not available in a document manner, in a written manner. Constitutional procedure is not available. It is very difficult to run the state system. So that's why Constitution means a bundle of rules and regulations that could shape or control the state and government system is called as a Constitution. So Constitution of India. So India, we are having a Constitution. So we will see the future in near coming slides. So Indian Constitution is a supreme law of India. Without Constitution of India, we cannot imagine about the supremacy of the Indian political power or political system. The Constitution of India is the supreme law of India. In India, we are all treating our Constitution as supreme. That means supremacy of the Constitution. We will see later in a federal future also. So the Constitution became a supreme authority. In the Constitution of India, supreme law of land. All should obey. All should abide of the law, obeyer of the law. So that's why we treat Constitution of India as a supreme law of India, because we cannot easily say that, because there are people, nationalist movement, they fought against the British colonialism, because in a Constituent Assembly where even various I think previous Congress session before the independence, our freedom fighters fighted against the British government. We need a separate constitution, we don't want to get the British constitution. So they have demanded. Even 1923 Congress session, Kripalani Nivasi, chairman, president of Congress, Indian National Congress, so they have demanded we need a separate constitution, we don't want to follow the British constitution. Thereafter we have fighted against, I think you might know about, thereafter I think maybe Quit India movement, Wavell plan, Cripps mission plan, White, then that helped, then Mountbatten plan, then we got independence and we framed our constitution with the help of Constituent Assembly. So that's why we treat the Constitution as a supreme law of the land. So Constitution becomes as a supreme authority. In the Constitution of India begins with the preamble. Preamble is the introduction of the Indian Constitution. Whenever we are going to create any law or we want to make any law, and we will use or interpret with the help of the preamble. The preamble contains the ideals, objective and basic principles of the Constitution. That basic principles of the Indian Constitution is relied upon the preamble of the Indian Constitution. So, preamble is treated as an objective of Indian Constitution. So, Constitution of India lays down certain framework defining fundamental political principles, establishing the structural procedure, powers and duties of government institution, and set out fundamental rights, directive principles and duties of the citizen. So, Constitution of India lay down or emphasizing certain activity. Constitution of India defines what are all the fundamental political, what are the fundamental rights people should enjoy. Not only that, what are all the political structure, institutional structure, organizational structure, what are all the constitutional procedures, legislative procedure, constitutional provisions, constitutional power or political powers, what are all the duties of the government institution, what are all the fundamental rights we are having, directive principles of Gandhian principles, international principle, socialist principles, and what are the other fundamental duties of the citizens are clearly indicated, emphasized by the Constitution of India. So, that is why the framers of the Indian Constitution, they realized what are all the duties and rights to be enjoyed by the citizen of India. That could be clearly what are all the political power they are having. Everything was clearly mentioned by the Constitution of India. So, that is why while you are understanding about the Constitution of India, you could see, you can do wonder in the state system. You can aware of about your fundamental duties. You know about how the structure of the Indian government is functioning, what are all the powers and functions of the government, and what are the duties of the individual and institutions, everything you can know about. So, that is why the fundamental ideas of the individual is to know about the Indian Constitution. So, Constitution lay down, emphasize major important aspects to the various laws to the people of India. Now, we can look about salient features of Indian Constitution. So, our Constitution is one of the best constitutions in the world. You can look about, many people used to say that, scholars used to argue that, not only that they have preponderant to say that, they because you could see that our Constitution is followed various other principles, and we have borrowed our Constitution from the other Constitution, various sources we have drawn, and we have created our Constitution. We cannot simply say that we simply copied or not like that, because our Constitution now has been created by the expert, Rajendra Prasad, President of the Constitutional Assembly, Jawaharlal Nehru, K. Munshi, Patel, Kripalani. There are a number of the people have involved related to the creation of Constitution. Ambedkar, Dr. Ambedkar, B.R. Ambedkar acted as a chairman of drafting committee. So, they worked together, all the our nationalist leaders are worked. The father of Indian Constitution is Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. So, all the people worked together to create a better constitution. Even you might know about UDHRs came into force in 1948, but our constitution is come to force in the year of 1950. So, that is why we have studied various other constitutions. So, whatever the best way suitable to the people, we have insisted, we incorporated and established our constitution is a far more better constitution than the other constitution of the world. So, that is why we may say that authentically our constitution is one of the best constitution in the world. So, that is why our constitution is having a better future than the other constitution of the world, especially the needs of the country. The need of ours is we need a better constitution. That is why through multi-religious, multilingual, multicultural aspect of the state like India, we are all establishing or functioning our constitution far more better than the other constitution of the world. So, what we are having today as a Indian constitution, that legacy means that British legacy we are all following in India. We are drawn various features from the other constitution. Apart from the other constitution, major aspect, the thrust area of the provisions and rules and regulations are we followed from the British government, British legacy, what nowadays we are all enjoying. So, that is why we may say that already initially I pinpointed that we are all almost we are having a British legacy way, we are all following the procedures and provisions in India. So, the Constitution of India has several salient features that distinguish from other countries, because our constitution is you might have knows about we are having roughly I am telling about, because initially they used to say about we are having 12 schedules, or roughly they say about 275 article, like that they used to say about we are having 12 schedules and 25 parts. That is a common, but as far as the 2021 present level, maybe every year you might know about new amendment is created. That's why even if you look about civil service course also, they used to roughly write about more than 425 articles are available in the Indian Constitution. But as far as 2021 reference as concerned, original Indian Constitution consists of 395 articles, but it crossed more than 425. But I am because you can subject to correction, you can cross check, and whatever applicable you can follow through. Originally it consists of 395 articles arranged under 22 parts and 8 schedules. Thereafter many amendments, it has 470 articles. That's why I told you. Now because books, if you look about any publication, they may say about 425 or 435. But if you look about as far as 2021, because we are having now 2023, you can cross check and you can add furthermore. It has 470 articles and 12 schedules and 25 parts. The Constitution was written on 26 November 1949 and was made the center of law on 26 January 1950. That's why India became as a republic state. We got independence 1947, but we are not become as an independent state. We enjoyed. Whenever state system means that Constitution is established or free government should be established, that became as a, that's a republic. Public could enjoy through constitutional procedure to enjoy their political power is called as a republicanism or republic state. So we enjoyed republic state from 1950 onward. Thereafter we constituted our government and elections are conducted. We are not state system. 1950 onwards we are having a free independent and a republic state system as followed from 1950. So these are all minor introduction of the Indian Constitution. Now we will move on to the salient features of Indian Constitution. There are plenty of features are there. Major thrust area, important features are covered up here in a precise manner, because everywhere it is available. You can go to the www.indianconstitution, you can gather more knowledge. Not only that, if you are having thorough knowledge about the Indian Constitution, you can do wonder in the world level, because if any person, individual or citizen of India, if they are aware of about the Indian Constitution, they move in, they can walk freely any parts of the India, or maybe they become as a well-versed lawyer, or like that they can feel, because everything is interpreted or with the help of Constitution. If you are aware of about constitutional procedure and the provisions, that is a wonder, greatness to the human being. So let us look about the salient features of Indian Constitution. Number one is lengthiest written constitution. That means one of the salient features of Indian Constitution is a written constitution. Lengthiest written constitution, or people say that it's a bulkiest constitution, largest constitution, or lengthiest constitution, because constitution is classified into written like American Constitution or unwritten like the British, because already I have mentioned about, because Constitution except British Constitution all over the world, all other constitutions are having a written in nature. That means documented in nature. It's available in a document written form. Because we are having many provisions, article, just now we have seen about, look about, we are having a more than 470 article, remaining all the article in the minds mean it is not possible. So if it is a written in nature, we can easily go through and we can interpret. Whenever we are creating the law, we can clearly indicate, article 25 deals about the freedom of religion, like that we can easily assess. Unless otherwise it is not in written form, it is very difficult to understand about the constitutional articles and provision and rules and regulations. So that's why Constitution is classified as a written and unwritten, but our Constitution is Indian Constitution is a written in nature. We are having a document in nature. So all the rules and regulation provisions are available in a written in form. In England they are having unwritten based on their custom and convention, Magna Carta, Bill of Rights, right to petition. Through that, over the period they have enjoyed their own unwritten constitution. Not like that, India is having a written constitution. We are having a written constitutional feature. Next, our Indian Constitution has drawn from, borrowed, we have borrowed our constitutional features from other countries of the constitutions. So you could see that we have followed, India is having a parliamentary form of government. We followed a British parliamentary form of government. that what are all the features we borrowed from the other constitutions. First we can look about the British Constitution. What are the features we have followed from the British Constitution? Number one is a parliamentary government. What we are having, because England is called as a mother of all parliament, we are having a parliamentary form of government, because parliament is a supreme authority, supreme power. The laws are created in the parliament. As far as the president's form of government, president is ultimatum. For example, in America, the president is a presidential form of government they are having. That means all the executives are individually, collectively responsible to the president, is called as a presidential form of government. Whereas in India, all the individuals or members are individually and collectively responsible to the parliament, not to the president or prime minister of India. So we are all collectively, that's why the supremacy of the constitution. So parliamentary form, we are all obliged, responsible to the parliament system. So that's why we are having a parliamentary form of government. So England is also having a parliamentary form of government. When they ruled India, they have adopted, they have followed a same parliamentary system in India. So we are having a parliamentary form of government we borrowed from, drawn from the British government. Next, rule of law. The rule should become as a law. That means law could be ruled to the people. What the parliament decide, that become as a rule of the law. The law could be decided with the majority in the parliament, that could become as a rule of the law. That the law cannot be exercised in more authoritative or dictatorship manner. So that's why the rule of law is one of the major principles that we have followed from the British government. Legislative procedure, lawmaking procedure. So in India we are having a lawmaking procedure in two ways. I think you all know about bill become as a law. There are ordinary bill and money bill is there. So legislative procedure, lawmaking procedures are we followed from the British type of lawmaking procedure, legislative procedure. Single citizenship. In India we are having a single citizenship. That ideas we are drawn from the British government. In America they are having a dual citizenship. But India we are having a single, not separate for state or not separate for the center. So single citizenship we are followed from the ideas of British government. Cabinet system, prerogative writs, because we are having a writ system, we are having parliamentary privileges, bicameral, upper house, lower house system. So all this parliamentary government, rule of law, legislative procedure, single citizenship, cabinet system, prerogative writs and parliamentary privileges, bicameralism, all these provisions are we drawn from the British government. The features, other features followed from the Ireland. So we have followed from the various countries, England, Ireland, America, France, Japan. So various countries we have followed the Canada, from all other countries we borrowed various features. That's why I told you our constitution is one of the best constitutions in the world, because we can accommodate, we can adjust and we can do better rules to the people. Next, features borrowed from the Ireland. Indian constitution we borrowed a directive principle of state policy from Ireland. We know that we are having a directive principles of state policy. Part 4th of Indian Constitution deals about the directive principles of state policy. We are having a socialistic principle, Gandhian principles and international principles. State should have, it cannot be infringed by the court. Fundamental rights where you can take into the court interpretation, whereas directive principles are not taken to the judicial intervention. So directive principle of state policy, state should direct the people, should follow certain necessary principles. So we have method of election of the president we have followed, because a president is elected by the electoral college, consists of all the elected members of central government and state government. Nominated members are not eligible. You might be aware of about that one. So method of election of the president we borrowed from the Ireland constitutions. The members nomination to the Rajya Sabha by the president, that's also we have derived, drawn the ideas from the Ireland. So president is having a 12 member nomination to the Rajya Sabha, that has drawn the idea from the Ireland government. The other features we have borrowed from the United States of America. So we have followed a very countries principle like England, Ireland. Next we will move on to the American government or American constitution. We have followed certain principles. Impeachment of the president. But in India we cannot do that. But we are having a system. But America, where they are having a impeachment of the president. Whenever there is any constitutional breaching or the resolution passed in the Congress in America, they can make a impeachment or punishment of the president, or removal of the president from the post is called as a impeachment of the president. There are John F. I think you might have heard about Watergate scandal. One of the famous president was removed from the post because when he involved about Richard Nixon involved about a Watergate scandal, he is removed by the impeachment. In India we are not having, but we followed the certain principles like impeachment of the president. We borrowed from America, post of the vice president and functions of the president and vice president maximum. That means functions of the vice president. Here not in the, that means maximum little bit functions are followed. Even we have a crown from the British government. Few other power, one or two powers are we followed from the American constitutional feature, not like exact presidential form of government of America. So post of vice president and functions of the president and vice president, we followed a little bit power from the American model. The removal of Supreme Court and High Court judges, we borrowed from the United States of America. And fundamental rights also we followed from the America. Judicial review. Judicial means whenever the court declaring that existing law as a invalid, one is called as a judicial review. So in this manner we have borrowed, because America Marbury versus Madison case was one of the famous case where they have India also in a Keshwanandi Bharati versus Union of India cases we have in, and Minerva Mills cases we have introduced a judicial review in India. That ideas we have followed from the United States of America. Then independence of judiciary. Government consists of three organs: executive, legislature, judiciary, where judiciary should function independently. The executive, legislature should not interfere on. So that's why we are having a independence of judiciary. That ideas we are followed from the American Constitution. The preamble of the Constitution in India, what we are having means the model of American Constitution. That means United States of America Constitution. For example, an American Constitution start with the we the people of America. Likewise, in India we have started our own Constitution, Indian Constitution. We the people of India, we have solemnly accepted India as a sovereign, social, secular, democratic and republic. We have followed our own preamble of India. That model has been followed from the British, that American government. So these are all the features we followed from impeachment of the president, post of the vice president, powers and functions, removal of the Supreme Court and High Court judges, fundamental rights, judicial review, independence of judiciary and preamble of the Constitution has been followed from the United States of American constitutional model. Next, the other features we have followed from Canada. We are also followed certain features borrowed and drawn from the Canada Constitution. So the centrifugal form of federalism, that means strong center, that means centralization of power, strong center than the state. Even now that tussle is going on. There are a number of people who are arguing why center is having more power. They are not giving a more distribution of power. Namesake, we are having a division of power, like that they are arguing. But anyhow, but the center is having, because that's why we are having a residuary power is vested in the central government. So the centrifugal form of federalism model has been that centralization of power system. That means more power is vested in the hands of center. That has been drawn from the Canada form of government. So we borrowed from the Canada. That means residual power with the center. That means center have more power than the state. In the distribution of power, center can make a more laws. State cannot make a law in all the field of. For example, list where defense, railway, central government alone can make a law. State government cannot make a law. Likewise, the concurrent list also in the hands of the center. Residuary power also in the hands of center. So that power ideologies are drawn from the Canada Constitution. The appointment of state governor by the centers. You might know about all the states. The governors are appointed by the president. Central government only appoint, not with the consultation of chief minister where they recommend. But that is a procedural form. But in reality, the central government will appoint the governors of the state. So that model we drawn from the Canada. Advisory jurisdiction of Supreme Court, appellate jurisdiction, original jurisdiction, advisory jurisdiction. We are having a three type of jurisdiction in the Supreme Court. So advisory jurisdiction of the Supreme Court has been drawn from the Canada government. Next, other features we drawn from the country means Australia. The feature borrowed from Australia. So we are having a concept of concurrent list. That ideology we have followed from the Australian Constitution, because they are having a concept of concurrent list. You might know about central can make a law, state can make a law. Whenever contradiction occur between the two laws or two lists, the concurrent list will prevail. So the concept of concurrent list we followed from the Australia model. So we drawn from Australia. Article 108, that is the joint sitting of the two houses of parliament. You might know about whenever the first session of the parliament start with the president and the joint session of the parliament, both the lower house and upper house, council of state and the house of people. That means Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha joined together where president will address. So the joint sitting of two houses of parliament has been given by the article 108. That ideas we have followed from the Australia model, or we have drawn that idea from Australian constitution. Then freedom of trade, commerce and intercourse, others are we have followed from the Australian constitution. Next, features borrowed from USSR. Now Russia, previously Soviet Union of Soviet Socialistic Russia was there. So now it is disintegrated. 1990 onwards it is disintegrated. Nowadays it is not available. Now Russia, where nowadays in India we are having a fundamental duties. We are having a fundamental duties, compulsory fundamental duties. So that duties are we have followed from the, because respecting our flag or protecting our constitutional or monumental ideals, all this, or we are having protecting our forest, many other way that we are having a fundamental duties. That ideas are we followed from, borrowed from the USSR. So the ideals of justice, social, economic and political, and expressed in principle, the ideals of justice, social justice and political justice, economic justice are, we are maintaining that ideas are drawn, borrowed from the Russian constitution. And next we can move about the France constitution. What are all the ideas we have followed? From France, the concept of republic, we borrowed from the France constitution, the concept of republic. Everybody knows about, because already I told you 1950 onwards India became as a republic. Public, where once again they can move freely with the constitutional help, that's why republic. Not only that, we have followed about liberty, equality and fraternity, because everybody aware of about the French Revolution. They made a impact about liberty, equality and fraternity through French Revolution. In the year of 1789, when the French Revolution took place, thereafter interval understood about the significance of liberty, equality and fraternity, brotherhoodness. So we have followed that kind of principle from the France. So these are all the features. Next we can look about that other features followed from the other countries. Japan, we have followed about the concept of procedure and established by the law, concept of procedural established law from the Japan. From Germany, fundamental rights are suspended during emergency situation. And South Africa, we have borrowed the ideas of election of members of Rajya Sabha and procedure for amendment of the Constitution of India. So these are all the important features we have followed from the other countries. So we have followed Indian Constitution, borrowed the various features from the other constitutions. We know that first one is a written constitution, bulkiest constitution, various rules and regulations are there. So we have drawn the various sources of our Indian constitution from other countries, from British constitution, then Ireland constitution, from United States of America we have followed a certain features, from Canada, from Australia and USSR and from France, and also we are having from Japan and Germany and South Africa. Next we can move about the second one, that is evolved and enacted constitution. That means we know that our constitution is called as a evolved and enacted constitution. So what we are having a constitution today, because if any constitution suddenly come out of from, for example in a federal form of government we are not providing a right to secession. If a right to secession means any state from the federal unit, they come out, they can start their own constitution, suddenly they can create their own constitution, is enacted, but we are not suddenly created a rules and regulation. Already Britishers ruled India through colonial power. What they established as a law after independence also we have followed. So I think you might know about through evolutionary way already laws are created. That's why I told you what we are enjoying means that is a British legacy, though constitution of India has been enjoying many principles from the British government. For example, Government of India Act 1909, Minto-Morley reforms, and 1919 Act Montagu-Chelmsford reforms, and the Government of India Act 1935. Because 1909 they have increased the members in the councils, and you might know diarchy system has been introduced, and 1905 partition of Bengal. Thereafter I think maybe that diarchy system has been come into force. 1935 Act, the federal sit-up, reserved list and a transfer list. Now it became as a union list, state list and concurrent list. After independence we have followed. So almost all other features, for example through 1935 Government of India Act, we are having a federal scheme on Office of the Governor, Judiciary, Public Service Commission, Emergency Provisions, Administrative details. Everything was already in the 1935 Act has been clearly indicated. So after independence also we have followed through in the Indian Constitution. So that's why if you look about our Constitution, almost we are having the legacy of British government. So that's why evolved and enacted Constitution. Next, third one is a rigid and a flexible Constitution. So we are having a rigid and flexible Constitution. How our Constitution has been determined as a rigid and flexible? Very simple, through law making procedure. When laws are created in the House in a hard procedural manner, it is a very rigid Constitution. Whenever they can, because law will become as a law, already I told you. We are having a simple and special procedure. With simple majority, whenever they created a law, it becomes a very flexible Constitution. Whenever the law to be created in a special procedure, it is a rigid Constitution. For example, if the simple majority, they will make a law. For example, prohibition of that means cow slaughterhouse and or prohibition act they want to create, or smoking in a public place to be removed. So they can create a simple measure, they can make a law, or making some other laws, they need a 2/3 majority in the parliament, or making a few other laws, they need a not only 2/3 majority in the parliament, half of the state legislature is approval is needed to ratification of law. So that's why in Indian Constitution you cannot make a law, certain laws, for example change of the president power or like that. So we are having a rigid and a flexible Constitution based on the law making procedure. If the laws are created in a simple majority way, it's a flexible Constitution. Whenever laws are required a major majority special procedure requirements, that is a rigid Constitution. India is having a both rigid and a flexible Constitution. Next feature is we are having a federal and a unitary system, or federal with unitary bias. We are having a both federal and a unitary Constitution. That means we are having a both federal and unitary features. Federal feature means written Constitution, because federal we should have a written in nature, dual polity, central government, state government. That means division of power. Union list, state list, and powers are distributed between the central and state. Not only that, federal features are independence of judiciary, a rigid Constitution. So these are all the federal features everybody aware of, because whenever laws are not properly written down between what are the power to be established between the center and state, we cannot exercise function. So in a federal, because unit sometime they will disintegrate from the unit, or they will go out. Says it means where without a written Constitution. So that's why center is having more strong power in a federal setup of nature. So in a federal features we are having written Constitution and dual polity, division of power, rigid Constitution, independence judiciary. So these are all the federal features. Whenever the union of state together, they have a features. Next we can look about, we are having a unitary features also. That's why Indian Constitution having a combination of both federal and unitary features. But maximum we may say that we are having a more I think unitary feature, or that means strong center, more powers with the system. Let us look about the unitary features. More power vests with the center, unequal representation of states in the union of states. Lok Sabha is more powerful than the Raj Sabha, because you might not know about many bills are without consent of the Raj Sabha, we can make it about, because bill go for a first reading, second reading, third reading, they will send to the upper house also, upper house has to be given to back to the Lok Sabha, like that, without the consent of the, that's why they used to say that Lok Sabha is more powerful than the Raj Sabha. So that's why even you could know about. So that's why these are all the features of unitary. So the integrated judiciary, independent single judiciary system, single citizenship, governor appointment, integrated audit machinery. That means a Controller and Auditor General of India was appointed by, or is to be appointed by the President. So integrated, he only for auditing and monetary control towards the entire India. So integrated audit machinery. So these are all the unitary features. It's a common, everybody knows about the Indian constitutional features, you can come to know about. So we are having a both federal and unitary features. So Indian Constitution we are having a both federal and unitary features. The other features of the Indian Constitution, because everywhere it is available, but these are all general features. As a student of political science, you can gather ideas. The number one feature is written Constitution. We have seen earlier, it is one of the bulkiest and the lengthiest Constitution, and we have drawn that means we have drawn our Indian Constitution from the other constitutional models from America or England, Ireland, Canada, Japan, from other countries we have followed. Then our constitution is evolved and enacted constitution we have seen about. Then we have looked about our constitution is a federal and unitary bias, rigid and flexible. Now we can look about other features in a sweeping manner. Fundamental rights. Another one of the important features of the Indian constitution is fundamental rights. So fundamental rights, part 3 of the Indian constitution deals about article 12 to 35, clearly indicating about the fundamental rights, right to equality, right to freedom of religion, right to freedom of speech and expression, right to cultural and minority rights, freedom of religion, and right to constitutional remedies. So these are all the major fundamental rights are available in Indian constitution. So that is also one of the features. Then preamble of Indian constitution. The preamble of India starts with, we the people of India, we have solemnly accepted that India is a sovereign, social, secular, democratic and republic to all. Hereafter we have to maintain socio-economic and political justice to all. So preamble is the introduction of the Indian constitution. The objectives of the Indian constitution should be reflected through the preamble. So whenever they want to create any law, that should be obeyed and follow the procedural ideas of the preamble of the Indian constitution. That's why the preamble is also one of the important features of the Indian constitution. Secularism. Indian constitution, we are having a secular principles because we treat all the religions equally. Even we are having a freedom of religion from article 25 to 28, but we are all maintaining treating all the religions equally before the constitution. So we are also having a secular principles, and directive principles are the another features of the Indian constitution. The independence of judiciary. We are having a free and independent judiciary. Universal adult suffrage, who are maybe attained in the age of 18, they can go for a vote. So that is another important features. And rule of law. Rule of law is the ultimatum. So, and the last one is republicanism. So we are all enjoying our constitutional features in a republic manner, free and independent manner. So these are all the major features. It is common to all the people of India. Not only that, these are all the major features of the Indian constitution. So with this, I conclude the Indian constitution paper. It is a more viable and useful to the students of political science. So thanks for watching this one. Thanks to one and all. Thank you, friends.